Namaskar. In today's edition of the Right Angle, I'd like to share some of my thoughts on a neighboring country of ours, which is in news, but that news is being relatively underplayed. I'm not talking of Pakistan. I'm not talking of Bangladesh. Though what is happening these days in Bangladesh is a matter of very or rather serious concern as far as India is concerned. But what I want to discuss and share my thoughts on with you people is something on Nepal. Nepal is a special country as far as our neighbors are concerned. You know that we do have an open border. We have got that 1950 treaty of peace and friendship. Though some historians these days have brought out some startling fact that when India became independent, then the ruling elites of Nepal and their most important political party is there. They wanted to be a part of India, but apparently Nehru declined it. But then that is history. Let's not go about it. That is some historians say they have brought out some new facts, but that's a completely different thing. But the fact is. It is a special country. We do have a treaty of peace and friendship. As you know, we have got an open border with Nepal in the sense that we do not require any visa to go to Nepal. And you'll be surprised to know that except, I think, Indian Administrative Service and the Indian Police Service, you leave these two services out. Any Nepali can come and take up a job here in India. And you know that Gorkhas, they are an important component of our Indian army. Though in the last 2-3 years, that is after that our Agnivir concept came, the then Nepali political parties, particularly the government, that communist led by Prachanda, did something. I'm going to talk about that in a little later. That's a different thing. But technically speaking, a Nepali can become even India's army chief. Constitutionally or legally, you can't stop him, and the vice versa also. And as you know, the practice is that the Army Chief of India is also the honorary Army Chief of Nepal. And the point that I'm trying to make is that we have got, and the Indian rupees are readily accepted there in Nepal. So it is a special, country from every point of view. And we have got this, great, civilizational links in the sense that our Sita, our goddess Sita came from Nepal. In fact, that time, this concept of nations was a little bit different, and you just when this Westphalia system in 1800, let's not go about that. That this modern state system originated. I'm not going into too much of that political science here. We say that Nepal is a different country because that time people didn't realize that it is a separate country. And you know that our open border in most of the Tarai region, it is very difficult to distinguish between who is a Bihari and who is a Nepali. And the marriages, the villages are adjacent to each other. So this is the background I am talking of. And what exactly is the problem there now? And why I chose that particular subject to discuss with you today. It is because today the Nepalese government have banned rallies, demonstrations and things of that sort from today. I think they will be effective from today as I'm talking to you people. I think maybe that have been already enforced. So that there will be no rallies, no protest, movements in Kathmandu, that is there in the capital city. Why it is so? Because over the last 2-3 months, there are serious demands in Nepal that the monarchy must be restored and Nepal should be declared a Hindu country, which was the case till the year 2007. Nepal was the only Hindu country in the world till 2007 because though the India is predominantly of Hindus. Unfortunately, the number is declining. So that's a different in the matter. But under our so-called constitution, which talks of secularism, the Hindu word is an anathema in the sense that we'll be discussing a little later. But Nepal was openly known as a Hindu country, Hindu monarchy. Like many countries, Islamic countries of Pakistan, Bangladesh, there are in the countries in the name of Christian. That doesn't mean that only Christians live there or there is no secularism. Not of that sort, nothing of that sort. But the point is, in Nepal, it was a Hindu country till the constitution changed in the year 2007. And that constitutional monarchy, of course, it was a full-fledged monarchy, but after that democratic movements, they started, I think, began in early 90s, and there are various phases. Then people, there was a consensus that it will remain a constitutional monarchy in the sense that the king will be a symbol of national unity. He will be the head of the state, but the power will be with the elected representatives, as the case in Britain. Nobody can say that Britain is not a democratic country, or as is the case, say, Australia, as is the case, Canada, where Canada recently saw a new election and a new government came up there, and who went there to administer that oath? It was the British king, because he is the head of the Commonwealth, and in the constitutional scheme of things, British king still is the head of the country there, or head of the state. Technically, though they have got a president also, but the point is that it is the king. But that does not mean that it is the monarchical systems are prevailing there. No, not at all. They were in the full-fledged democracies. Like all told, Britain is a democratic country since hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. I think soon after. So that's a different thing. Similarly, so what the point there is that there is something called constitutional monarchy. Like here we have got a president, but president is elected, whether indirectly though, but then we have got an elected head of the state, president. But that does not mean that India is a presidential form of government. We do have an elected government, parliamentary form of government, but the president is the head of the state. The same is the case when you are talking of constitutional monarchy. The king or the queen may be the head of the state, but otherwise the country is fully democratic, and the prime ministers and the parliament, they and the independent judiciary, they do take care of the administration and in a full-fledged democratic manner. What happened in 2007? And unfortunately, that constitution changed in 2007, and that was a gift by India and the then Indian government to Nepal, in the sense, this Nepal, this Maoist, that great Maoist menace earlier. There was complete unity among all the Maoists. You might have heard that slogan from Pasupati to Tirupati, that entire red corridor that came from Nepal and up to our say Tirupati, that means till the border of Tamil Nadu. So the Maoists, they were really rebelling against, and that fully supported by China, and that's a, but that nature of this thing struggle, we are not talking of it, but the fact is that they were leading an armed struggle against the then democratic government. That time the monarchy means it was a constitutional monarchy. I think that government was led by the Nepali Congress or something. And who was in government here in India? That was the UPA government led by Mr. Manmohan Singh. And first 2-3 years, that was a minority government, and they were critically dependent on the support of the CPM and CPI, mainly CPM. And the links of the Marxist, and they may be talking of the parliamentary reform and things of that sort, but they always had a soft corner for this extreme radicalism. As you know, this Maoism and Naxal Bari, they originated from Bengal. And even in the 1962 war, there are many such, our communists who talked of Mao being their chairman. You'll be, though it is slightly out of context, but very interesting thing just now is coming to my mind. I think the present day Chief Minister of Kerala, a CPM chap, I think for some time he was suspended from the CPM. That time CPM was not, that is CPI, that is the Communist Party of India, which are not divided. Subsequently it got divided, CPM became pro-China, and CPI remained pro then Soviet Union. But that time it was the undivided and do you know why he was punished? I think he was suspended or some action was taken against him because he had donated his blood for our Indian armed forces, because the war was going on 1962, and that time lots of blood is required, and blood donation camps were there all over the country, and this gentleman had donated his blood, which was taken so seriously by the communists. They talk of others and their role during the freedom of struggle, what is their role, and the way they lauded China is something that is very well known. So let's not go about that. But the point that I'm trying to make is this: that government was critically dependent on the CPM, and Mr. Sitaram Yechuri, Karat Prakash, and there was Devi Prasad Tripathi, though I think he was a CPM man, but he had come out of CPM, but they did. I think that time he had joined that national Sarad Power's party. I know these people very well. They are my esteemed seniors in my university in JNU. And I personally had wonderful equations with all of them. They may say something, our differences, despite I opposing them, but otherwise personal friendship always remained. And I distinctly remember one evening I had a very animated argument with DP Tripathi, like an elder brother. I said, the sin that you people have committed, India will never forgive you, that you have made Prachanda the Prime Minister of Nepal. Why I said that it is a gift in the sense, so because, and Manmohan Singh, just because he was critically dependent on these CPM and these Marxists, they brought out a so-called political consensus in Nepal to end this Maoist armed struggle and establish so-called democracy in Nepal. And 2 points were, there are many other points, but 2 points noteworthy was this, this Prachanda, who was their Maoist leader, he was installed as the prime minister. The constitutional monarchy, that new constitution that was, I think, made after 1990, when I said that this pro-democracy movements started taking the monarchy, and there was that agreement, and they had decided on this new constitution. But 2007 that also was changed, and most dangerous thing, that they said that Nepal will no longer will be known as a Hindu country. It will be so-called secular country. So that is what the situation is now. But as you know, subsequently after 2007, in the last 18 years, I don't think any government, the so-called democratically elected government that has come up in Nepal after various elections has lasted, say, more than 1.5 years. There are broadly two forces. One is that old Nepali Congress, the largest political party, and another is that Maoists. And the Maoists split. There are two factions. One faction by Prachanda, another faction by Oli, Mr. Oli. I do not remember his full name. I think it's Mr. Oli. He is presently the prime minister. He I think before him was this Prachanda, because when Nepali Congress withdrew support to Prachanda, then Oli's faction of this Maoist faction, they joined hands, and Oli became prime minister. And as I said, that they don't last, and various coalitions sometimes between Nepali Congress and these Maoists, they have taken place. But the point is, there has been no political stability. And secondly, what has happened is this Chinese influence in Nepal has really increased hell of a lot. And thirdly, the traditional friendly ties between India and Nepal are no longer that warm as it was the case before, in the sense that the Nepalis are claiming some territories. You might have heard about the Kalapani, and one sometimes hears also these demands of finding faults with that Indo-Nepal treaty of 1950, which I have written many a time in the last 10-20 years, should be scrapped if the Nepalis do not want. I want the Nepalis need a visa to come to India, and we need visa to go there. And let's the number of Nepalis that they work here, and the thing of that. And I think day before yesterday, there was, of course, they did recognize India's role. 2014-15, there was this serious earthquake. Every natural disaster takes place in Nepal. Who is the country which stands with them? It is obviously India. I think Modi had taken over the prime ministership. I think 2014-15, and it was one of the biggest rescue act in the history, recent history. The way the Indian armed forces really played, and they played the role in evacuating people, giving them assistance, and later also economic help. So the point is that has not generated the necessary goodwill. On the other hand, India is always being criticized for interfering in Nepal's internal affairs. And as I said, the Chinese influence has gone up quite high, particularly with the two factions of these Maoists being in power one after another, or after some interval. And the third important thing is that you will be seeing that Pakistan also has gone there, and the ISI has become very overactive there. And it has been seen in many cases, these fundamentalists, the terrorists, sometimes come to India because of our open border thing, through Nepal. And surprisingly, the remarkable growth in the number of mosques with the Pakistani ISI money that have come up on our border areas between India and Nepal. That means near Uttar Pradesh and Bihar border with that. So that is as far as India is concerned. But then, as I am saying, as far as Nepal is concerned, the Nepalis also are very much disgruntled. What the hell is happening? We do not have a stable government. And on the other hand, what is happening in all these people? What they do? They want to destabilize the unity among the Nepalis. As I said that sometimes this monarchy, or for that matter again the Hinduism, they play the most unifying role. I think, but what they want to do, as it is happening here in India, they want to show the disgust among the Hindus in the name of caste, then in the name of again this Hindu, Muslim, Bagara, in the name of secularism, and denying or rather undervaluing the Nepalese culture and civilization of thousands and thousands of years. So obviously now there is a reaction to that, what is happening in Nepal. And what this party, it is called Nepal Prajatantra Party, I think. I'm not very sure, I don't exactly remember. I think Prajatantra Party or Republican Party, something. So these people and lots of Nepalis, they want the restoration of monarchy. If not monarchy, at least restoration of that there in the country being declared to be a Hindu country. People do not realize that in the world, I think I can argue it at a greater length sometime later. If you do respect this concept of secularism, then I think if any person really attaches importance and believes in this concept of secularism, it is actually the Hindu, nobody else. Because we believe in differences, we believe in different methods of worship, and a true Hindu can never become communal. What is actually communalism? In my opinion, a communal person is he or she, or rather, let me define communalism as something which denies a person's due, legitimate due, on the basis of he being different, on the basis of he being a Muslim, he being a some casteist, he being a Christian. It's not that that particular person doesn't qualify for that job, or he, for that matter, he needs to have something of his own that is guaranteed, that like it is in the case of the other communities. But if you are not denying a person's due or their due, not because of anything else, but because they being different from you, I think that is called real communalism, right? Who is practicing this thing? Which religion really believes in this particular thing, that sarve sukhina bhavantu, let everybody be happy, जैसे हमारा प्रधानमंत्री बोलते हैं सबके साथ सबके विकास. So the whole point is that on the other hand, this disease, I think this is literally a disease, and unfortunately that is because of our the so-called left liberals, and which these days people are not using that word, that Khan market gang type. Secularism in India being defined as, if you say something against Hindus, then that is you are a real secular, And if you find out anything, say wrong with some guy who is of a different community, like say Muslim or Christian, if you say anything, then that means you are in a communal person. But you go on abusing Hindus. Sanatan Dharma, is like an epidemic, sibling the perverse sort of, languages that were, and the way this West Bengal, police yesterday, arrested this, poor, girl, the law student from, Haryana. And this type of thing, they want to totally deny everything if they find some, Hindu angle in it. So this is the whole problem there in the name of, if the secularism has been reduced to such big farce that unless you are an anti-Hindu, then you are not a secular person. The same thing is happening in Nepal. Unfortunately, in India, that is why I chose this topic. I really was happy that in Nepal people are realizing this, that you can't talk of secularism by only abusing Hinduism or by abusing Hindus. But the same thing, the same sort of movement one doesn't see, unfortunately, here in India. We should learn that thing from Nepal, and that is precisely what is happening. And predictably, the communist government has now put these bans on these demonstrations and various popular movements. And I am quite sure if this it can't be suppressed, if ultimately it is the people of Nepal who will determine something, and they literally were forced to accept this constitution that was made in 2007, which actually, as I said, उसका अगर कोई पाप अगर कोई लगना चाहिए, ये पाप वो then Indian government को लगना चाहिए, and particularly, as I said, these Marxists on whose support the then Manmohan Singh government was critically dependent on, they really gave legitimacy to these terrorists, to these anti-Hindus, and did this thing in that way. Actually, it is we, I mean, as an Indian, I am ashamed of what my government did in 2007 to impose such measures on the Nepalese. And the very fact the Nepalese have realized that enough is enough, and they want to be known as proud Hindus, that needs every true Indian's support. Let me stop here. Thank you for listening to